Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. In this video today, I'm going to be looking at Warlock, single target damage, and War Within. I guess currently in the late stages of beta. We're going to be looking at Affliction, Demo, Destro, playing Hellcaller, Soul Harvester, Diabolist, all the hero talents and everything, basically combined. We're going to be covering single target here. I wanted to do single target and AoE, but that'd be an hour-long video. I don't want to do that to y'all. So we're going to do single target here. I'll try and get an AoE video out maybe tomorrow, the next day, this week at some point if we have time between now and launch. We have so many videos planned before then, but I will do my best. If you guys want any add-ons or anything you see in the video, week auras, links to Twitch and Discord down below, you can get it for free. And also heads up, the War Within Warlock beta spreadsheet is live on Patreon for early access if you want it, at the tier 3 Battleguard rank or higher, but it will indeed go public and live and all that before launch regardless, just if you want to support there. Link appears as well as down below in the description. And let's jump into it. It looks like Diabolist and Soul Harvester have all been fixed bug-wise. I've heard that, haven't tested it, but let's find out right now. Alright, so we're going to start off here playing Affliction, Hellcaller Affliction, and we're going to get into Soul Harvester in a minute. Now, we're going to have sections on Affliction, Demonology, and Destruction. The builds I'm going to play here are the builds I've seen roughly being the best in Sims. Things are changing a little bit still and all that, so it might, well, change a bit. But for the most part, this video is more about, like, rotational stuff, how things look rotationally for all the specs. And, we have Sims for the most part. We know that, Aph's the highest, sitting at nearly 1.41 million, followed by Demonology, relatively close, and then Destro being needing some buffs. But either way, rotationally, people have been asking for this video for a long time, so wanted to make it, and it'd be fun to make too as well, and all of that. The main difference here between Soul Harvester and all that, we are playing points in Sacrilash, we are playing points in Malediction. Soul Harvester shifts to points in playing Improved Haunt, I believe Death's Embrace, as well as Ravenous Afflictions, and things like that. And we will go from there. There's no Xavius' Gambit or Oblivion play anywhere from what it seems. It has been, Sims have been run, and it's not the best, so we're not playing it. Also playing Hate Fury here over Bleak Heart Tactics. I've also added a tracker up here to show my rotation. I used to have Weak War right here, but it broke. So if you guys want to see it and try and track it, it's up there. I'll try and talk you through it. Might be a little fast here, but I'll do as best as I can. And yeah, So we are not playing Improved Haunt here. Soul Harvester is, so not a big difference either way. But if you're playing Improved Haunt, it does give you one stack of Shadow's Embrace whenever you cast it, and will maintain it. If you're not playing it, no maintenance, gotta stack it twice. We're playing Shadow Bolt, it's Hellcaller here too. Just Sims better. So we're gonna go in here. This thing is an execute, can't do much about it. But hey, that's that. So we're gonna precast a Haunt here and do a precast Unstable Affliction, Agony, Wither. We are playing Absolute Corruption here, so that's fine. Gonna Shadow Bolt twice for Shadow's Embrace stacks. Gonna go Singularity, Soul Rot. I'm going the Dark Glare, pop my Trinket, whatever, and begin Rapturing. I'll hit Malevolence and then begin Rapturing, basically. Rapture, 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 cast a Shadow Bolt here, hope for a proc. Did not get it, that's okay. Cast my Haunt here, it's falling finally. Rapture again. And you can see how long our dots are extended here, with both Malign Omen and Dark Glare being a thing. You get a super long extension of your dots here, which gives you much more coverage for more Shadow Bolt cast, or Drain Soul for playing it for whatever spec. We're going to dump a TC proc here, you don't want to set it too. Much higher chances for just procs and more shards to regen, which gives you more, coverage on your dots, Soul Rot and PS extensions overall. But yeah, I mean, basically with Hellcaller, similar to Soul Harvester, but a bit different. They both had these 1 minute damage windows, right? So I'm essentially holding my Singularity here for my Soul Rot in about 8 seconds. At the same time, also have Malevolence in about 8, so we're going to pop those together and go from there. So we're going to refresh UA here, hit my Singularity, hit my Soul Rot, going to hit my Malevolence, and begin Rapturing. This is our smaller damage window. We'll have a larger one in a minute again here whenever we have Dark Glare coming back around, but dump our resources here. Cast as Haunt, going to dump these last 2 Raptures here. 1, 2, launch a Bolt for a TC proc. We got it. A little late on the actual dots, but it is what it is, no big deal. Basically falling right there. And that's basically it. You maintain your UAs, maintain your agonies, refresh in Pandemic. That's the gist of it, really. If you get 2 procs of Crescendo, you don't want to sit at 2, so spend 1. I'll keep this one here for a little while. If you have a lot of shards coming in, like right now I'll dump 1 here, you can fish for tier set procs if you're like overcapping on shards or just want to spend some or whatever. RNG is RNG. This is your tier set. Gotta play around it. I'm going to Rapture once again here. I'm going to overcap, but I don't spend. And besides that, just maintenance. It's really easy. I know I have Dark Glare in about 8 here, so I'm going to dump one of these procs. I'm going to cast my Agony again here, cast a Haunt early. I'm going to Rapture once. This should put me around 5 shards whenever I start casting these dots here. I'm going to cast my Singularity, going to cast my Soul Rot, Going to Dark Lair, hit my Trinket, hit my Malevolence, and start Rapturing. Rapture. That was a TC proc. Rapture is down. Refresh my Haunt. Could wait a little bit, not a big deal, whatever. Gonna dump here. And you can see you've got a long time on your Soul Rot and your PS here. So you can keep casting Shadow Bolts, hope for more procs. Dump 2 there, dump that final shard there. And with that Malign Omen and Dark Lair extension, you just have an eternity for more shards to come in, for more TC procs. It's pretty solid. Gonna stop damage here. Look at the breakdown overall, roughly. So for Hellcaller, Wither is pretty high. It's not your main source of damage anymore, but it's up there, right? Rapture is your main spender after the 20%, or your main damage ability spender as well. After the 20% buff that it got, it does indeed outpace Wither a little bit. But Wither is still very high at 16.5%. Agony 11.2. UA Big 9.3. If you're playing Xavius' Gambit, it's a little higher, obviously, but you're not really playing it. They should likely buff UA and probably make it stronger than Agony in single target, with it being your, limit 1 dot. But we'll see if that happens. Not really sure. Max Rapture of 1.36 million. Max Wither of basically 361. Blackened Soul, Soul Rot, Shadowbolt Volley, so on and so forth. Malefic Touch being here at about 4%. Essentially more Rapture damage. It does indeed scale with Mastery in beta. Does not on retail. Maybe it's fixed today. Don't know, we're going to find out. All right, shifting gears here, looking at Soul Harvester Affliction. The main differences here between Hellcaller and Soul Harvester, you're playing Death's Embrace, you're playing Improved Haunt, you're playing Ravenous Afflictions. I think this talent's still likely undertuned. I think it's 1.4 procs per minute, but it does go to show how strong Nightfall is for Soul Harvester. A lot of synergies with Nightfall in general. Ability right here, whenever you cast Haunt, you get a Nightfall stack. Nightfall increases the damage of Shadowbolt or Drain Soul here. Reduce cast time. Right here as well, consuming Nightfall activates Shared Fate or Feast of Souls. Shared Fate does indeed appear to be ahead in single target over Feast of Souls. Probably shouldn't be a thing, but well, it's where we live in. At the same time, consuming Nightfall feeds your Demonic Soul, causing him to appear and do damage on stuff. Very, very synergistic about spending Nightfall procs. Now, until today, I heard the bug was fixed where if you cast a Shadow Bolt or a Drain Soul at 2 stacks of Nightfall, it would previously consume both the stacks. I heard it was fixed. I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to go in and look at it. Now, when it comes to the opener, so there's been a bit of debate on the opener. I don't write APLs. I'm not smart enough to do it. But I was assuming you'd end up dumping shards in your opener beforehand and then cast your Soul Rot, because Soul Rot grants you 3 shards whenever you're playing Soul Harvester via Shadow of Death, and they're all succulent souls. It might end up being that way regardless, depending on fight duration and all that, but it does push cooldowns back about 10 seconds. So if you lose a cooldown set in a sim, or in general, obviously worse than just, going in, hitting Soul Rot, overcapping initially, and just spending around there, right? Once again, rotation might not be exact. I haven't dug into the actual rotational stuff 100%, but either way, we can get a good feel for it right here. We are playing Improved Haunt, so we're going to get 1 stack of Nightfall when we cast this from this, but also get a stack of Shadow's Embrace, which feels very good. With Drain Soul being faster and all of that. So here we go. We're going to cast a Haunt. We're going to cast Unstable Affliction. There's a stack. Agony, Corruption. Going to cast this Drain. Stack Shadow's Embrace. There we go. Bang. Hit my Singularity. Hit my Soul Rot. Going to Dark Lair. Pop Ascension. My Trinket. And go from there. I'm going to Rapture a good bit here. I have 1 stack of Nightfall. I'm going to see if we can get 2 here. Couldn't. It's all right. We're going to dump this here. Going to drain that. Now, that Haunt cast right there was indeed cast essentially when I still had, my current Haunt active. From what I understand of things, it is worth casting Haunt on cooldown even if your Haunt is active due to the Nightfall proc that it gives you basically on cooldown, and that does make sense. I do concur, right? And also at the same time, with Nightfall applying Shared Fate, you don't want to necessarily go back-to-back Nightfalls, like back-to-back Drain Souls or whatever, to essentially clip the Shared Fate. It does not add damage on like Soul Anathema or Devouring Plague does, right? Now, sort of how this spec, or this build, whatever, is sort of similar to how Hellcaller is, right? Where you're going to end up having these minute damage windows. The difference here, you're also going to have 3 shards coming in whenever you cast your Soul Rot, which makes things very interesting. So right about now, I'm going to dump this Drain. I'm going to cast my Haunt here. I'm going to cast Singularity. I'm going to cast Soul Rot. I lost a shard here. I would likely dump a little more if I had more time, but, it's what it is. Those 3 shards come in. They're all empowered. Dump a Drain Soul here. Nightfall bug is indeed fixed. Very cool to see. Going to dump this TC proc here. Going to Rapture again. We're going to Drain. Don't have enough time to get more Rapture in here, but hey, it is what it is. Regardless, those windows, it's still every minute like Hellcaller. But unlike Hellcaller, you don't have Malevolence, giving you that haste amp and that wither damage amp, but you have that Soul Rot giving you 3 shards and also giving you a 20% damage amp to every Rapture. Every Rapture, whenever a shard is considered succulent, which is a weird phrasing, hey, don't look at me, the Rapture damage is increased by 20%. And Soul Rot gives you 3 shards, and they're all guaranteed to be succulent. Pretty cool. So to a similar extent here, we have Dark Laren for Soul Rot about 10 here, so we're going to set up for it. Going to cast an Agony here, dump a shard again here, dump the Strain. I'm going to cast a Haunt here to get a Nightfall stack, and also refresh in general. Soul Rot, I'm going to Dark Lair, I'm going to Trinket, and we're going to dump this proc right here. Dump a couple more. We have 2 Nightfall stacks here, so we can dump a handful of these. Gonna Drain, hope for a TC proc. We got 1. Perfect, we'll dump that. We'll dump these 2 here. Watch this Nightfall Drain, don't want to lose it. We'll do that. We will cast this here as well. Didn't get a proc, it's okay. Cast it again. We can dump a couple procs here, dump that, and that's most of the gist of it. My dot fell for a second, is what it is. Wasn't perfect, wasn't optimal. But either way, Soul Harvester works a lot around these Nightfall procs, balancing around Nightfall, casting these drains. This dumb is an execute. So if you're comparing damage between Hellcaller and Soul Harvester, looking at the last 2 tests here, you shouldn't, because Drain Soul does double damage in execute. The breakdown-wise here, Drain Soul is indeed pretty high. Max crit take of 500,000. Besides that, Rapture being 1.57 million. Biggest Hellcaller Rapture hit was, I think, 1.3. 1.6 here, essentially. Besides that, though, Agony 8.3, UA 8.0, Soul Anathema 7.7, Corruption being 4.5, which, I mean, Corruption replaces, Wither replaces Corruption as Hellcaller. And if you look back to Hellcaller, basically, Wither was here, and this was Rapture. So, very different damage profiles. Soul Anathema is the dot that your dude, whenever he spawns, the dude looks like this, comes out of your back whenever you have a succulent soul. This thing right here, this guy comes out. He'll put up a dot here called Soul Anathema, which is, that damage effect right there. It does indeed stack like Devouring Plague, so that's cool. The dude himself does some damage right here, 4.5. And you have Wicked Reaping being about here, Shared Fate being about 3%, so on and so forth. Honestly, both are pretty solid. Soul Harvester is simming a little higher in single target than Hellcaller. I think by about 50k, give or take. APLs I don't think are fully optimized. I don't know, but either way, honestly, with the bugs being fixed and Soul Harvester being buffed again, I've really enjoyed Soul Harvester in single target. But I've also really enjoyed Hellcaller. AF in general is feeling really good. Now, when it comes to Demonology, this is currently the build that's been simming the highest from what I've seen in single target. You are indeed over here playing the Fire Dog. Once again, haste scaling. Purple Dog does not have that. Maybe it'll change. I don't know. At this point, Fire Dog everywhere. It is playing Doom, Impending Doom, and Pact of the Era Druid. I've had mixed results with these, not always meeting what it looks like in Sims damage-wise. It could be an RNG thing, it could be a bug with dummies. I'm not really sure, but either way, we're going to go into it here, and I'll show you all the rotation. Now, we're playing Diabolist here. They have indeed fixed the cyclical nature, or I get the cycling of pets. I guess I'm spawning, so it should have all the empowered abilities here. When it comes to Soul Harvester, not much really changes except for the damage breakdown, but either way, when it does, it's pretty interesting. So we're going to open up here, precast Power Siphon. I'm going to cast a Shadow Bolt here. I'm going to cast Grimoire Felguard, running in. Shadow Bolt. I'm going to cast my big Fire Dog. There he is. Shadow Bolt again. College Red Stalkers. Got a proc. That's cool. Hand the Gul'dan, Demon Bolt. Hand the Gul'dan, Demon Bolt. I'm going to hand the Gul'dan twice here. And hand. Oh, that's a big empowerment. Tyrant. Hit my Trinket. Hit my Demonic Strength. And we're going to go from here. Big thing. Just cycling pets. The next cast, we're going to spawn an Overlord. There he is. He ran in. Cool, it's working again. Haven't seen that until now. And besides that, it's the same nature as Demonology we've had for a long time. You're just casting 3-shot hand Gul'dans, casting your dogs on cooldown for the most part. Big thing here, you want to cast your Charhound, Red Dog or Purple Dog, whatever you're playing, basically on cooldown. Because if you forget it for 10 seconds or whatever, you will often miss the sync of your Tyrant. There's very little leeway to cast that dog in between Tyrants without like, oh, okay, I forgot to cast it. Now I can't get a cast in because Tyrant's up in 10 seconds and I forgot to cast my dog. So, got to keep an eye on that. Besides that, pretty similar. You're siphoning. For the most part on cooldown, I actually overcapped by 1 core there, but I've been holding second siphon a bit if I can for Tyrant setups because it's been really funky not having guaranteed cores back from dogs. It's a thing that's probably just going to stick around. I don't know what to say about it. It is what it is. But either way, we're Tyranting again here. So I cast a set of Dreadstalkers, cast my Red Dog, and cast a handful of Imps. We've got like 13 in there, and that's basically it. It's the same, same Tyrant setup essentially we had for a long time. Main difference here being Tyrant is a minute cooldown on War Within, unlike, well, I guess unlike what it was in Dragonflight, being a minute and a half and all that, but yeah. That's basically it. Casting Fire Dog here on cooldown, and still just cycling through this, right? Spawning another Chaos here, going to give me an Infernal Bolt, spend before that. Cast the Infernal Bolt, there you go, spend there, casting Dogs on cooldown, and I know in about half a minute here, I'm going to have my Tyrant coming up. This is the big one with Grimoire in it, right? One thing to mention here, these Ruination Meteors always give 3 imps, no matter your shard count, and they don't consume shards when you cast them. So keep that in mind. If you get a Ruination proc at 1 shard, you can still cast it and get full imp value. So right about here, I'm going to cast my Grimoire Felguard, Shadow Bolt again here, going to cast Big Red Dog, and cast Dogs with the Calling proc, and going to build some imps here, right? Hand, bolt, bolt. Gonna hand here. Maybe we can squeeze in a few more imps there depending on procs and stuff, but it's whatever. Gonna go Strength, Trinket, Infernal Bolt, cast a Hand of Gul'dan. And once again, that's basically it. Spawning a Pit Lord here. 1 shard, 2 shards, doesn't matter, because Ruination doesn't care. Shadow Bolt, Hand, Demonology. Same demo as last time. For a long time. Just Minute Tyrant feels a little better. Damage breakdown wise, we're looking at Tyrant for Demonology being around, Tyrant for Diabolist being about 10 to 12% depending on RNG and crits, because you have this talent here increasing his damage by 70%, and it does indeed interact with Ram's Tyranny. Tyrant about 11%, 12% give or take. Imps being number 1, 16%. Charhound, a red dog. Thushok, the big dog. Felguard, that's my pet. Dreadstalkers, Demon Bolt, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan. This is Big Mommy's Infernal Bolt. Here's the Overlord Wicked Cleave. Still critting for 2.5 million, right? Felguard, I think this is Grimoire. Pit Lord, Felseeker, Chaos Salvo, Big Mommy's, her actual channel. Here's Ruination. Still hitting for a decent bit. It would crit for 1.7 million roughly if it hit, but, there's that. Here's Doom. At 1.6. Now, the weird thing here, though, if you look through here, there's not really any Doomguard damage, is there? There's not. There's right there. Doom Bolt, Doomguard. We have 5 hits. That is 1 spawn of the Doomguard. So, it might be an RNG thing, just being up here and hitting this dummy. It very well might be. I'm not really sure. There's a handful of Doom applications here, and honestly, I wasn't really even holding cores optimally for Doom. I was just doing rotational stuff. But if I had essentially 8 Doom hits and only 1 spawn the Doom Guard, that is, I don't think, reflecting what you see in logs. Could be wrong. I don't know, but well, interesting. When it comes to Soul Harvester Demonology, I believe it's playing Shared Fate. Haven't seen it. I'm going to play Shared Fate here regardless. You get a lot more Succulent Soul Shard procs. You build shards much easier than AF does. A Shadow Bolt, build a shard. Soul Harvester versus Agony, taking a while to build for, Affliction and all that, right? To a similar extent, imp damage increase and all that. Imps that are imploded have a higher chance to give you demonic core, whatever, there's that. You still have this, consuming demonic cores, activates Shared Fate or Piece of Souls, so you can tab target this around the AoE if you want, similar to Doom on retail. Or in single target here, we're going to play this. Consuming demonic cores spawns the demon again, once again right here, and Shadow of Death, when you cast Tyrant, it grants you 3 soul shards, and they are going to be succulent. Succulent souls for Soul Harvester Demo, empower your Hand of Gul'dan by 60%. And also summon, the big demon, right? So damage breakdown wise, you're going to see here, Tyrant won't be as high by a decent bit because you're not playing Demonology or Diabolist with that, damage increase, but still playing Ram Tyranny. So we're going to open up here, going to Siphon, reset meters here. Going to go in, Shadow Bolt, going to go Grimoire, Shadow Bolt again, going to cast the Fire Dog, Shadow Bolt again, maybe get a Demonic Calling proc. Didn't, it's okay, no big deal. Going to cast Dogs, Hand, Bolt. I'm going to just hand twice here, a little low on Grimoire time. Going to cast Tyrant, going to cast my Trinket. There's 3 shards from Tyrant cast, whatever. And we're just going to go from here. There are my succulent shards, whatever you call it there. Cast one Hand of Gul'dan, go to 3, or go to 2. So what happened right there, that tracker went from 3 to 1 off a Hand of Gul'dan, which is very cool to see. I was going to talk about this. So you're playing the Antmother talent, whatever it's called, Pact of the Antmother, right? That can give you a second Hand of Gul'dan. If it does proc a Hand of Gul'dan from Pact of the Antmother, it will indeed proc a damage increase and consume a Succulent Soul via Soul Harvester. So actually pretty cool if it does that. It's a cool little synergy, cool little interaction there, I guess. It will indeed consume an extra stack. So if you see it go from 3 to 1 or 2 to 0, that is why it's happening. Right there. Again, I believe. Yeah, right there, roughly. So There you go. Now, besides that, I did see a Doomguard spawn there. Going to cast Fire Dog here roughly. I should have some cores coming in second tier roughly. Well, actually, I don't. My Siphon. Unlucky me, wasn't paying attention. It's fine. No big deal. Build a few imps here. Lucky on a core there. Hand of Gul'dan Bolt. Gonna hand twice here. Try to. I might lose this dog. We caught him. It's fine. He's good. He's fine. There's your Minute Tyrant, right? Should have had more imps in it. Wasn't paying attention. Whatever. Is what it is. Besides that, same thing as regular Demonology. You're just casting 3-shard hand Guldans, casting dogs on cooldown, watching your actual, like, you know, red dog, purple dogs cooldown as well. Tough cooldown. Put it back on cooldown, right? Casting a hand to Gul'dan again here. One succulent soul laying around. But if you watch these buffs here, you'll see that, like I said, you generate so many more succulent souls due to how many demon bolts you cast, how many shadow bolts you're casting, how often you generate shards, you know, comparatively to what Affliction does as Soul Harvester, right? So very different breakdown. You'll see here in a minute as well. The demon and everything will be much higher when it comes to overall contribution, soul anathema, so on and so forth. Let me get into that in a minute here. So we're going to start building for Tyrant here. Roughly going to build to 5 shards. Going to cast Grimoire. Cast a Shadow Bolt here. Want to cast the Big Fire Dog. Going to rip Dreadstalkers now as well. Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt. Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt. We'll hand the Gul'dan again here twice. Hope we're at Imp Proc. We did get it, actually. Very exciting. Cool. We'll Tyrant at 15 imps. Perfect. Max amount of imps we can get. Back to 4 shards. Casting some hands here. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Once again, oh, hitting strength as well, as you know. Can't forget that. But yeah, you can see how many more succulent shards you have around, and whenever you cast, you know, a hand of Gul'dan with a succulent shard being part of it, that does indeed spawn the big dog, the big dude, the big green guy, right? That does soul anathema, his own damage, and all that. Stopping damage here overall. You can see imps are on top again. Shadow Bolt number 2, Charhound number 3, soul anathema. This is the dot that the demonic soul puts out. Much higher, 9.1%. Demonic Soul at 7.5. I think it was like 4 for Affliction. You're getting a lot more procs here, right? Shared Fate a bit higher too by about, I think, 0.6%. Wicked Reaping higher by about, I think, 1%, give or take as well. Just the abilities in general higher. But the trade-off, Tyrant, a good bit, wherever that went, Tyrant is a good bit lower, sitting at 5.3%. That's actually a bit higher than I've seen. We stopped right when he despawned basically there. So both are good in single target. Both play the same essentially. We had, let me see, nine Doom applications there, and we had 1 Doomguard again. So it could very well just be a bug in these dummies, maybe up here, I don't know. But if this is the actual proc rate of Doomguard, I'm not playing this. This is terrible. But either way, that's how it plays. Both feel pretty similar, and honestly, both feel pretty good. Let's take a look at Destro briefly. Alrighty, now when it comes to destruction, we're going to look at Hellcaller and Diabolist here. I'm trying to say Diabolist and not Diabolist. It pisses off, you know, YouTube and all that if I say it the wrong way. This is the current best build from what I've seen. There's a lot of flexibility with this build. I've seen builds playing Crushing Chaos, like being very close between Crushing Chaos and Reign of Chaos, like 1,000 DPS disparity between the two, favoring Reign of Chaos. If that's the case, I'm playing Crushing Chaos and not Reign, because there's much less RNG in Crushing Chaos than there's Reign of Chaos. But regardless, we're going to go with this. I've also seen builds playing Chaos Incarnate with Crushing Chaos versus PO and Reign. Whatever, not a big deal either way. We are playing Kata here from what I've seen. You want to cast Kata if your Immolate's going to fall. I guess your Wither's going to fall or whatever. And basically you don't have a Soulfire up. Besides that, I haven't really seen it casting it much in the APL. You are indeed casting Shadow Burn essentially on cooldown. It is exceptionally strong, very, very strong. It's a very large portion of your damage to execute. Unfortunately, this dummy is likely dead. It is. I'm going to try and not hit it as often. I don't know what to do here. It's beta. I don't know what to tell you. But it is a large amount of damage and very strong. And in general, I mean, just, I don't know, I think it feels pretty good to hit. So gonna go from there. So we're gonna open up here with a Soulfire to kickstart our damage like usual. We're going to then cast a Shadow Burn and a Conflagrate. Shadow Burn, Conflagrate, put the rock down. Gonna cast Malevolence, cast my Trinket here. Gonna Shadow Burn again. Gonna cast Conflagrate and start casting some Chaos Balls. Got a lucky early Inferno proc there, which is super sick. That'll help carry into more Infernals, and that's sort of the RNG when it comes to playing. Essentially. Reign of Chaos, right? At times you get procs super early on, and at times you don't. And if those procs proc early, they lead to more shard gen. They can chain into more and more shard gen, which means more and more Infernals procking earlier and earlier in your Reign of Chaos windows. And at times, you don't get any procs early on, and your window flops. So it really just depends on how it goes. RNG is RNG, but, you know, That is basically that. Now, I'm doing my best here to not cast as many Shadow Burns, like I said. They are coming off cooldown exceptionally fast here because we are in Execute, a talent that reduces their cooldown by 5 seconds if they don't kill a mob at low health. So I know they're off cooldown. I'm trying to hold off on hitting them so much because it's going to skew the disparity or the damage meter a lot, but, you know, it is what it is. Similar to Affliction, though, Hellcaller has minute windows. Look what's up. Malevolence. Look what I'm going to do. Pop the Malevolence, and here we go. Gonna cast a Chaos Bolt, gonna Shadow Burn, gonna Conflagrate, cast a Soulfire, we got it there, gonna refresh Wither, by a Shadow Burn, whatever, or Soulfire, cast it twice, no big deal. Chaos Bolt, gonna Shadow Burn, Conflagrate, going to cast a Bolt, gonna cast a Bolt, gonna cast an Incinerate here, going to cast a Shadow Burn, Soulfire's up, gonna Conflagrate, cast my Chaos Bolt again. That's basically it. And you're casting a handful of Soulfires as well, even without the CDF synergy with Soulfire still being around. I wish it was. I love that synergy. I think most people did. I think they could likely bring it back, honestly, with, like, you know, Chaos Bolt, Destro, all that being fixed at this point. If tuning it's done a little bit differently, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. Cast a few more Incinerates here. We have Infernal up in about 10 seconds. We have Malevolence in about 12, so we're going to keep an eye on that. Build some shards here roughly, watching my Wither as well, about to fall. I'm going to cast my Kata here to refresh that actually. Going to do this, going to put my Infernal down, pop Malevolence in second tier, cast that, whatever. Malevolence, Trinket, I don't want to overcap here. I'm trying not to. Chaos Bolt, Shadow Burn, Conflagrate, Soulfire, I'm going to Shadow Burn again, going to Chaos Bolt, Shadow Burn again, why not, sure. I'm trying to sort of reserve, you know, cast here, but at the same time, we're consuming a shard in a random chaos window by a Shadow Burn, being instant cast. And look, 2 Shadow Burns, proc 2 Infernals. Look, a good random chaos window we got too early on. Now we're chaining. There's a 3rd Infernal, right? Here's the high end of random chaos. You proc multiple Infernals early on, sometimes you can chain more, and more, and more, and more, and more. You know, RNG is RNG. So you had this high end with random chaos, but also a lower end at times if you're not, you know, procking them optimally, right? So damage-wise, lower than Aff and Demo here, unsurprisingly. Breakdown-wise, though, we have Chaos Bolt at 18%. Now we have Shadow Burn here. Biggest Shadow Burn crit being basically 1 million. Biggest Bolt being, you know, basically 1.1 million. Shadow Burn, not Shadow Bolt. Shadow Burn is certainly worth it when it comes to shard investment, like raw shard value and execute. Even outside of it, exceptionally strong. Black and Soul also being pretty high here, but we also are in Execute, so Withers are ticking down basically all the time. Incinerate, Wither itself being here. Conflagrate, Chaos Bolt from Overfiend still being pretty strong with that shard nerf coming in, or I guess that stack nerf coming in, making it, you know, 20 or 15 if you're playing Master Ritualist. Still very strong overall. Also looking at Soulfire being here, lower with the CDF synergy being broken, Infernal being here, Malevolence, Cataclysm, so on and so forth. Once again, it's sort of hard to show the breakdown here because it's dummies and Execute, and I can't change that. Execute means Shadow Burn, guaranteed crit with Blistering Atrophy, damage increase regardless, and this gives you a much shorter cooldown on Shadow Burn when it's low on health. I was hitting it much less than I could have been. If I'm spamming Shadow Burn, it's easily beating out Chaos Bolt here in Execute. So if you wanted to Execute as Destro, you got it in this new Shadow Burn. Very strong. Now, when it comes to the big dog version of Destruction, it was Diabolist before. I'm trying to leave combat here if I can. Might still be in it. It has been nerfed, obviously. Now, you were indeed having just that huge... I'm broken. There we go. That huge ritual cycling with random fires being cast over and over. You were playing Infernal Machine with random chaos. I'm going to play it here. I'm not sure if Infernal Machine or Cruelty is better. Probably Cruelty with all the nerfs, but I'm going to play Infernal Machine here, honestly. And, forget it. I'm going to play this. Probably pretty close now, all the nerfs coming in and the shard spending changes. I don't know. We'll figure it out either way. But we're going to go in here. I'm going to play the same build. Not much really changes here, I don't think, honestly, between them. It's basically like Hellcaller replaces, you know, Wither replaces Immolate, and for Diabolist, you know, you're spawning pets and stuff, right? But it doesn't really change the core structure or flow of things an incredible amount, well, as far as I've seen and such, right? So, going to clear your stacks out, going to go in here and open up in a similar fashion. Going to precast a Soulfire to kickstart our damage here. Going to cast a Shadow Burn into a Conflagrate. Going to put the rock down. Going to ascend as well. Why not? My Trinket. Here we go. No Malevolence here. So I'm going to Shadow Burn Conflagrate again. Then going to cast a Chaos Bolt. So my actual demon spawning basically about after this Chaos Bolt cast here. And there's the big Chaos Bolt, Diabolic Ritual, or Diabolic Art proc, essentially, which you're still empowering your bolts with, right? When you're playing the Rain of Fire build, you're essentially having to watch your procs. You're spamming Rain of Fire a bunch, but you wanted to spend every Diabolic Art on a Chaos Bolt or a Shadow Burn, essentially, right? But now you're casting bolts all the time. You're casting Shadow Burns too. If you cleave with the Shadow Burn, not the end of the world. Or if you cleave. If you consume a Demonic Art with a Shadow Burn, not the end of the world. Isn't that big of a deal. But thankfully, we have multiple bolts to cast here. 1.6 million bolt. We had a 1.9 million a minute ago. Shadow Burn again here. And I will say, like, with rituals being so short at essentially 11 seconds before as well, it felt sort of tough to watch your Diabolic Art procs when you were just casting a million random fires at the same time too. With how much they took off as far as like just raw shard count, ritual count was concerned. It was a clunky rotation, to say the least. So I'm happy in a sense. I'm happy overall that it was fixed. But I do think Destro could use some buffs at this point because, well, you know, it is the lowest of all the 3 specs by about 100k or so from what I've seen in Sims. Once again, I don't write APLs. I'm not smart enough to. There's some build out there it's better, but it's likely worse. It needs to be buffed somewhere. So we'll see where it goes. I'm gonna cast a bolt here. Once again, trying to hold off on Shadow Burns. I don't want to like spend too many here and inflate the damage overall with this mob being execute, but I mean, it's basic Destro. I'm going to cast Kata here to refresh Immolate because we didn't get a Soulfire proc. Shadow Burn, cast a bolt, whatever. Going to Conflagrate, Ritual Bolt, there you go. A fast bolt for 2 million. Cool to see. We have Infernal coming up in about 10 seconds here. Now, unlike, you know, Hellcaller and stuff, you don't have that minute window because you don't have Malevolence, and there's really no other cooldowns between Infernals, right? The cool thing, though, is that we can essentially just, you know, dump this bolt here, put the rock down, pop my trinket again, ascend, Conflagrate, cast a big Ruination, Shadow Burn, and start churning out more effects here again, right? We're going to have to cast this bolt here. Now, cool, they actually fixed that bug too, which is very cool. So there was a bug for a while, which I didn't know if they fixed or not, where if you were like mid Chaos Bolt cast and you had like a Demonic Art proc, it would consume the effect but not empower the Chaos Bolt. It did not consume the effect there, so I was able to cast another bolt. Very cool. Good bug fix. Haven't seen that until right now. There you go. Once again, I'm playing Reign of Chaos here, so RNG is RNG. Sometimes you high roll, sometimes you low roll, but, you know, 2 Soulfire resets back to back. Hit Lord spawning again here, cast a bolt. I'm going to Shadow Burn, cast a Ruination. Shadow Burn again, why not? Sure, Conflagrate. Another Soulfire. RNG is RNG. Another Soulfire. RNG is RNG. But regardless, you know, there are some varying damage profiles. Once again, it's hard to compare Chaos Bolt here and Shadow Burn because it is an execute. I'm holding my Shadow Burns more, but I didn't empower any Shadow Burns with Touch of Rancora, this Diabolic or Demonic Art effect here, right? I empowered some Chaos Bolts. The hardest bolt for Hellcaller is 1.1 million. The hardest bolt here was basically 2 million, 1.9 million, right? That 100% damage increase from Rancora, that reduced cast time, also helpful, right? Shadow Burn, if I empowered it and it crit like that, it would be 2 million in execute. Would have beat it either way. So it's not terrible to spend procs on Shadow Burn. You need to, whatever. Sort of is what it is. Incinerate here. Soulfire, Infernal, Conflagrate, Chaos Bolts from your Fiend. Once again, about the same where it was last time. Immolate, Ruination, pets here, you know, so on and so forth. Ruination crit for 2.8 million. So still a pretty strong effect, even after the massive nerf that it got, whatever, right? So both are pretty close here. I believe Hellcaller is simming a little higher, but once again, there's a lot of RNG with Destro. I mean, a bit of RNG with Destro in general now. Not as much, I would say, with like Rain of Fire being nerfed. It wasn't a crazy map, but still, like Soulfire procs can, you know, go, or sorry, yeah, Soulfire procs can go wild from one pull to the next. So I'm doing one pull as Hellcaller and one pull as Diabolist here. It might look skewed toward Diabolist, but, you know, there's a reason why you run 10,000 iterations of Sims or more for that median, that average, right? But either way, rotationally, that's how it looks. That's all the specs, and that's it in general. So thanks for watching, guys. That wraps it up. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully answered any questions you might have had about Destro, Demo, Affliction, Diabolist, Hellcaller, and Soul Harvester gameplay in single target. Now, like I said, I wanted to include AoE in this video, but it would take just so long. It'd be an hour-long video to get all this done. So I might make a video later on this week looking at AoE if I have time. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see before launch. We have a lot of videos coming out, and We'll try and squeeze it in if we can. If you guys want any Week Wars add-ons on the video, links to Twitch and Discord down below. You can get them for free. Like always, a massive shout out to my patrons. They're all supported on Patreon, y'all. Thank y'all a million times. I greatly appreciate all the support. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing for you guys, making content, and yeah, just greatly appreciate it. If you look at supporting on Patreon, it should be linked up here as well as down below in the description. And once again, thank you. Yeah, I mean, dude, we're less than, what is today? The 20. We're about 10 days away from early access, and things are ramping up. I expect more tuning this week, likely, maybe to Warlock, maybe not. But there definitely will be more tuning regardless at some point in the next month or so before the race comes around, Heroic and the Mythic, and yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. So, all that being said, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.